Let's talk about railways and geopolitics. Hot in the news is the fact that the US, Israel are just firing weapons at Iran for absolutely no good reason other than the Western politicians were starting to get tired of Israel doing a genocide. Why are railways becoming relevant to this? Well, they're becoming relevant because of the Strait of Hormuz, which is the way that the hell of a lot of oil and LNG, liquid natural gas, gets out of the Middle East, out of the Gulf of Persia. So the Strait of Hormuz, firstly. This is how a third of oil and a fifth of global liquid natural gas get out of all of the oil creating, oil drilling nations in the Middle East. So whether it's UAE, Saudi, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, Iran, it's coming through the Strait of Hormuz. It's coming out of the Persian Gulf and through the Strait of Hormuz. That's a lot of oil, and a decent whack. Some of it goes to a decent whack if it goes to Europe, but a sizable chunk of it goes to Asia. A very large amount goes through, including to China, kind of through the Indian Ocean. With China and Iran, if we imagine a situation where we ignore the fact that Iran would likely do this through a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, which is what's being proposed as one of the weapons that they, or one of the actions they could take, we assume that this is done by mining the whole thing rather than, say, kind of the usual sort of naval activities they do with small boats, etc., and being selective on who they choose. Say they just blockade it so no one can get through. Is this going to cause China the problems that the US is claiming means that Iran cannot do this? I suspect not, and this is where railways come in. First of all, let's talk about VLCCs, very large crude carriers. These carry around about 2 million barrels of oil each, and they're about one of these is going to between Iran and China a day or every 2 days, so between half and one of these a day. And when it comes to railways, the largest oil trains are carrying up to maybe 100,000 barrels of oil per train. Let's do some basic sums. If you have 2 million barrels and you have per VLCC and you have 100,000 per train, that means you have 20 trains per day. This is a lot of trains. Could Iran and China between them muster up this many wagons, this many trains, this many movements? Not overnight. Does that mean that this is an impossible solution to at least providing a medium-term solution to oil movements? Yes. Is it the sort of thing that China could just set up a temporary port further south and not be worried about the Strait of Hormuz? Well, also yes. Could they build a pipeline? Again, that's heavy infrastructure, slower. But I think the key point of this is that this means that it's not inherently unrealistic that rail provides some of that capacity, which kind of undermines two things. Firstly, the idea that the US is saying, well, Iran can never find an alternative, so they're never going to steal the Strait of Hormuz. And secondly, the people who are giving a gotcha saying, well, you've seen that there's a rail line between Iran and China, but you know nothing because the actual material facts are that rail cannot move this much oil. Well, whilst I agree that it's challenging, it isn't unrealistic.